You know that we're doing some special segments on the shows before we introduce the featured modeler. Tonight we have two. Philip Richards, who's going to be talking about scratch building, locos and cars, and Bob Farquhar, who's going to be talking about structures.
Good evening, everyone. Well, I've been doing modeling for many years. I used to scratch build in HO, but then my age, my fingers, and my eyes got bigger, and I was unable to see all the little parts in HO, so I went to ON30, which is a heck of a lot easier for me anyway. So here's some of the cars that I've built and some of the things that I use to build the cars. Okay. This is the basic tools that I use: a scale ruler, ACC glue, regular glue, side cutters, drill bit, number 11 brake, and a file. These are just the basic tools. Some people will use a lot more. I don't need to necessarily make more. The material to build an ON30 boxcar using evergreen plastic. This is a two-piece. When I originally started building the cars, I built 2 or 3, and then all of a sudden I had to go back and start measuring all the parts on it. Well, I decided I better make a small sketch, and this is the materials with the appropriate numbers for the evergreen plastic for that size. And here's the lower half with all that other information. Then I condensed it with help from TC, and we did all this. All the car sidings is 0.040. The roof walks, your material that you need to make a boxcar. You can either go the 135 with 0.030 by 100, or the 145, which is 0.40. And then you use the HO size 4 by 6 inch. Your top track, and I'll explain that once we get into a picture to show you where that is in relationship. The lower track is the same thing. The door supports between the upper and the lower are 2 different sizes, and that's, you'll see under construction. The roof supports for the interior of the car to keep it nice and straight and firm, and the support for your roof. Your flooring is that sheet, and then the underframes are, these are the 2 that you can get from Bachmann in ON30. This is what the car starts with. That's the ON30 underframe that you can start with to build the cars. They come in red or black. It doesn't matter because you're going to paint them anyway. Who cares what color you get them? And here is a scratch-built car prior to actually painting and construction. Here's the roof supports. First one, you put this in, you put your cross members in first, then you put the length of the car in next, and you attach them to keep everything nice and straight, because these sides will wobble a little bit. Your upper track is the larger track, and it's here, and it's just for the opening. But then on the back side, which is here, you can see that it's actually approximately 2 feet wider on each side, so that you have a point to build for your roof support. And then these are all hand molded grab irons. These are Grant Line stirrup steps. So that's the only basic 2 products that you buy, is the underframe and then the stirrup steps. Everything else is hand done. Now we're going to get into some cars. Here's the Bath and Hammondsport, which originally was a narrow gauge railroad. It has now been converted to standard gauge. And these are dry transfers from, I forgot who in the heck it was from. Oh my goodness. But anyway, there's what one car looks like. Like I said, most of the cars have dry transfers, which I use a burnishing tool on. Then the door siding here is also 0.040 in thickness to match up the car. Here is a ventilated boxcar that was scratch built. And the only thing that came out of this one was an original ventilated door from a standard Bachmann ON30 car that I had laying around. So that's why I decided to make that. And this is also a narrow gauge car. Here is a narrow gauge car that actually was up in somewhere in Illinois. I forget exactly where it was, but this was their car that they do have pictures of that has been restored. Now, when you come to this car's door is actually the same siding at 3 3.25 inch on spacing, but it's only in 0.02 thickness, because then you use the item number 124, which was 0.020 by 0.080. That way it still fits on the car if you had a regular 0.040 thickness door. All my doors on my box cars do operate. Here's one with the doors open, just another. I don't believe Northern California Railroad was a narrow gauge, but I like the decal, so that's why it got there. Okay, the following cars are a variety of scratch-built cars that have been made. They're not box cars. They are just fun cars that I decided, I saw a picture of something, I liked it, I built it. Here's the maintenance away gravel car, scratch built. The only thing that started out with was basically the underframe from Bachmann, and that's it. And then we go from there. Just different plastics to build the car. Whatever you have, you design, you go with that part. This one I decided to have fun. The railroad ran out of wood, so they forgot to finish off the flat car. It was just enjoyable to build it. I have to add a lot of weight to it, so it does have a load on it, but I decided not to show you the load. I just wanted to show you the particulars of this car. These are a freelance design of pulpwood cars. I liked the Northwestern Pacific. I grew up in the area, in the San Francisco Bay Area, so I didn't see them because I didn't pay any attention to them when I was a child. But then I decided to give you a free load that this load comes out. These are actual pieces of that tree behind you that you can see. That is a Chilean mesquite tree, and they made wonderful loads of lumber. Then this one basically was from a design of a Denver and Rio Grande Western maintenance away car. But I had decals and the emblem for Southern Pacific. So I built this car, scratch built, but I used a solid piece on the sides here instead of saying it's metal instead of a wood. And the decking is individual, no, excuse me, that's standard decking for a box car that I put on this car. This is a same thing with the metal for the underframe here. The tank is actually from a leftover Bachmann tank car in ON30, but this one does have individual boards on the decking all the way across. And then they were dyed with various paints and stains. This is another one that has, this one has, excuse me, diamond plate decking, and it has an open frame underneath the tank car itself. And that, no one should be afraid of scratch building or kit bashing of cars. It's easy, it's simple. You make a mistake, you've just made a new design. That's all I can say. So do we have any questions or anything?
Oh, I've got one. You talk about using those rub-on decals.
Yes.
You have a trick to do that? I've always been scared to use them.
Yeah, I get them from, I forget who in the heck I get them from. Anyway, it's very simple. You cut it out to what you want as close as possible to the decal. And you turn it upside down, you put it under a light, not a fluorescent light. You need the heat from the light. You hold it there for a minute or two. Then you place it on the part of the car that you want. You make sure you got it in place. You hold it down with a finger. You get a burnishing tool to transfer that decal. You work from one side and you work into the center. After you get maybe halfway through, you stop. You peel it back to where you have done your burnishing to see if you've missed any spots. If you have, you go back over that general area. Then you continue on till the very end, checking it periodically to make sure that the dry transfer has done its transfer. If it has multiple colors, since dry transfers come in multiple colors, you do one color, whatever it's asked for first. You seal it with a dull coat or a gloss coat, whatever you want. You wait a day. You put the second color on. I've got one that's got 5 colors. Took me 5 days to do it. And the reason is you want everything to set, because if you press too hard with your burnishing tool, you will lift up the lower level of decal that you put on previously. And then once it is all done, then you dull coat it or gloss coat it however you wish. That's it. It's very simple.